This is Matthew Cratter from Trader University, and today I want to talk about some shocking new disclosures from Coinbase and what could happen there to your Bitcoin if Coinbase files for bankruptcy. Now, I've spent a lot of time over the past couple of years talking about not your keys, not your coins. We've said that if you leave your Bitcoin on any exchange or any app, anything like Coinbase or Gemini or Kraken or Binance or any of the other exchanges, Cash App, Robinhood, etc. If you do this, your account can be frozen by that company or by the government. This is what happened in 1933 when the U.S. government seized Americans' holdings of gold and put it all into Fort Knox. So there's a historical precedent to this. When the U.S. dollar gets in trouble, the U.S. government gets very aggressive. Something similar could certainly happen with Bitcoin. Here's a fake poster that's pretty funny, though. The Bitcoin war bonds. And this is a hypothetical order confiscating your Bitcoin. If you read down at the bottom here, it says Executive Order 69-420 hereby prohibits the hoarding of Bitcoin during times of emergency or war. All persons are required to deliver to a Federal Reserve wallet all Bitcoin now owned by them. So we could see something like this. It's a very clever poster. But there's another risk that people haven't really been talking about. We've already talked about how centralized honeypots of Bitcoin, like exchanges, are targets for hackers or evil governments, i.e. just governments in general. Also, they're honeypots for simple mistakes. So if they accidentally lose your Bitcoin, if they lose their private keys, if they send it to a burner address, etc., these could be problems. And in almost all cases, there's not sufficient insurance. Maybe they have $500 million worth of insurance for an event like this, and they have exposure of $5 billion, in which case you'd get 10 cents on the dollar. But there's something else that was revealed in Coinbase's 10Q, their earnings report, their quarterly report yesterday. I'm going to link to it below. You can find all of their investor relations, their SEC filings at this page. I'm going to link to the actual 10K that I'm going to be quoting from on page 84 here. And this is really interesting. So this is Coinbase's own disclosures. As of March 31st, 2022, we held $256 billion in custodial fiat currencies. In other words, in regular government money that they are custodian of, as well as cryptocurrencies on behalf of our customers. So this is a mixture of fiat and cryptocurrencies. They point out supported crypto assets, in other words, any cryptocurrency that Coinbase accepts and trades and custodies, are not insured or guaranteed by any government or government agency. In other words, you can leave your US dollars on Coinbase and they're probably safe up to $250,000 worth per person. In other words, FDIC, which is the government bank insurance, but there's no special insurance for stablecoins. If you hold USDC or USDT with them, if you hold UST, you've already basically been wiped out. So there's not any government insurance or bank insurance for cryptocurrencies there. And as we said, the insurance that these companies hold is usually not sufficient to cover in the case of a crypto hack or something like that. They also point out that they've entered into partnerships with the Center Consortium, for example, which is the group behind USDC, another stablecoin. And so if Center is holding some of the USDC, you have exposure through them as well as through Coinbase. But here's the real kicker in the language. Moreover, because custodially held crypto assets, in other words, your Bitcoin that you're keeping on Coinbase, may be considered to be the property of a bankruptcy estate. In the event of a bankruptcy, the crypto assets we hold in custody on behalf of our customers, in other words, your Bitcoin, could be subject to bankruptcy proceedings, and such customers could be treated as our general unsecured creditors. So what does this mean? An unsecured creditor is just someone who lends money to a company, usually, where the loan is not secured by anything. It's not backed by any company assets that could be seized in the event of bankruptcy. So if you're a secured creditor, maybe the company has these large machines or this real estate that you could help to liquidate to pay back the money that they owe you. But an unsecured creditor is always behind the secured creditors in terms of handouts when it comes to liquidating the company. So if Coinbase were to file for bankruptcy, there is a chance, and this says it in Coinbase's own legal disclosures here, there's a chance that your Bitcoin held with them could be considered property of Coinbase and could be used, it could be liquidated and used to pay off groups that Coinbase owes money to, like secured creditors who always come before unsecured creditors. So we have the situation. So not only can the government or hackers take your Bitcoin that's stored at Coinbase, a bankruptcy court could order that your Bitcoin be sold to pay off secured creditors. So that's the actual disclosure. Now we're going to look at a tweet thread from the CEO and founder, Brian Armstrong. And the way I summarize this thread is, "Hi, I'm Brian Armstrong. My lawyers put some pretty strong language in that latest 10Q. Everything's probably going to be okay, but I still left that legal language in the SEC filing." So it's really talking out of two sides of his mouth, there's a lot of people upset about this disclosure, rightfully so. He points out we have no risk of bankruptcy. Well, this is just not true. Every company has a risk of bankruptcy. Currently, there's not a huge risk for Coinbase to go bankrupt. They have a market cap of roughly 23 billion, enterprise value of 19 billion. So not a highly levered company. This is a company, though, that is hemorrhaging money. Their stock was down more than 12% yesterday, and then more than 19% overnight after the earnings report. And so the market cap really has been more than halved over the past 6 months or so. In addition, they're bleeding money. Just in the first quarter of 2022, they lost almost $500 million. So they're not currently at risk of bankruptcy. But if I were Brian Armstrong's lawyers, I would not have let him say that there's zero risk of bankruptcy. Companies that previously have been very, very profitable and very successful can enter territories or enter regimes where things just go very badly, and they're forced into bankruptcy. So I would agree there's no risk of Coinbase going bankrupt today, but what do things look like in a quarter from now, or 6 months from now, or a year from now? This is something that you need to keep track of if you're going to store your Bitcoin at Coinbase. He goes on to say, "We believe our prime and custody customers have strong legal protections, and now we're trying to extend that to our retail customers." In other words, the smaller, the little guys, not the institutional investors that are with them. So he's really speaking out of both sides of his mouth, saying, don't worry about this legal language, but we're still going to file it with the SEC as sort of a CYA move. Please, please, please get your Bitcoin off the exchanges. It's bad for you to keep them there. You're subject to so many different risks, and it's bad for the ecosystem to keep them there. I've only talked about Coinbase in this video, but there's lots of private companies like Gemini and Kraken and Binance, etc. I believe they're all still private, and you don't really know what is going on with their financial filings. Are they at risk of bankruptcy if we get an extended bear market in crypto here? We just don't know how much debt they have. There's not a lot of public data available unless you're an investor in one of these private companies. So please get your Bitcoin off the exchanges. It's not good for you. It's not good for the Bitcoin ecosystem to have these large honeypots of Bitcoin that can cause systemic risk. It's not going to destroy the protocol, but if Coinbase were hacked, for example, and I think they currently hold something like 10% of all the Bitcoin out there. If it were hacked and that Bitcoin were taken by hackers, of course the hackers would use it as money and spend it, etc. But this would be a huge blow of confidence to the Bitcoin ecosystem that could take years to recover from. And all because people just choose to leave their Bitcoin on an exchange because they're too lazy and they don't want to learn how these things work. I'm telling you, we will see a day in the next few years when many of you are going to experience what I'm calling a Do Kwon event with your Bitcoin. We talked about Terra Luna buying Bitcoin, how it's going to implode, and they'd have to sell a Bitcoin back on the market, how UST was not a stable coin, and now was rather an unstable coin. Now Terra, this stable coin that's supposed to be worth $1 is now trading for 36 cents, and the Luna token, the Terra token, has completely imploded, down more than 96% since I made that video. So I'm telling you, something is going to happen to a centralized exchange here. It's going to be bad for anyone who's holding their Bitcoin. There are a lot of people who are despondent because they thought they were in a stable coin, they thought they were in something safe here, and it completely imploded. So please pay attention to these warnings. They're very important. If you want to learn how to store small or medium amounts of Bitcoin, I'll link you to this video. If you have larger amounts, like your retirement savings in Bitcoin, I'll link you to this video, which talks about Multi-Sig and how to store larger amounts of Bitcoin on multiple hardware wallets where you need to sign more. You need more than one signature to move the Bitcoin. And after you've watched those, it's really basic enough just to buy a Trezor or a cold card and use that to withdraw your Bitcoin, which I talk about. If you want to take it to the next level, I also have my Bitcoin course where I talk about do-it-yourself multi-sig vaults, where you use hardware wallets from multiple vendors and you build your own vault, so you don't have to rely on a collaborative custody company like Unchained Capital or Casa, and you maintain your privacy. So once you've watched all my free videos, check out the my paid courses, my paid course on Bitcoin. I'll stick a link in the description notes below. I'm also going to stick a coupon code there that will take $26 off. But I encourage you first to start with all the free videos on YouTube that I have about Bitcoin, especially these 2 videos, which I'll link to. And then when you're really ready to level up, or maybe when you have enough of your net worth in Bitcoin, maybe more than 10% or so, you really should start to consider these do-it-yourself multi-sig vaults. In the meantime, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Do whatever you can to get that Bitcoin off the exchanges, because this is going to end very badly. You never know which exchanges can be targeted or what's going to happen. Maybe there could be a government attack on one of these exchanges to try to scare people and say, you know what, these exchanges don't know how to hold Bitcoin. We really need the Federal Reserve or the U.S. Treasury to hold your Bitcoin for you. You never know how this is going to play out, and it looks like that attack on UST, the US dollar stablecoin, Do Kwon stablecoin, that may have been a government-sponsored attack. It's looking increasingly likely. And we had Yellen's testimony yesterday. There didn't seem to be a coincidence that happened right after UST was probably attacked by Citadel at the behest of Janet Yellen. So these things can happen. If they can happen, they eventually will happen. One of these exchanges is going to go bankrupt or get hacked. And if your Bitcoin is there, it's going to be gone. And even if they have insurance, you'll be lucky to get 5 or 10 cents on the dollar of that of the fiat value of that Bitcoin. If you found this video helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe and like button. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.